Capitalism is everywhere. It's in the clothes you wear, the phone in your pocket, even the food you eat. But did you know that just 1% of the world's population controls nearly half of the world's wealth? That's right, while millions struggle to make ends meet, the richest keep getting richer. In fact, 26 billionaires now own as much wealth as the poorest 50% of the entire planet. Shocking, isn't it? How does capitalism keep winning, despite all the criticism? Is it because it creates more opportunities, or because it controls every aspect of our lives without us even noticing? In this video, we'll uncover the hidden truths of capitalism. From the way it tricks us into believing we have freedom of choice, to how it thrives on crises and global inequality. Buckle up, because what you're about to learn might change how you see the world. Stay tuned for the surprising ways capitalism continues to win, even when it seems like it's losing. Chapter 1. Capitalism isn't just a system, it's a quietly unstoppable force. It shapes the policies of governments, the choices we make, and even the way we view the world. This system thrives by constantly evolving and adapting to new challenges, often without us even realizing it. One of its strongest tactics is its ability to remain unseen, manipulating people through consumerism, media, and advertising. According to a study by the American Psychological Association, advertising alone influences 80% of our purchasing decisions. Capitalism isn't just in your wallet, it's in your head. It hides behind choices that seem independent, like what to buy, where to shop, or even who to vote for. Yet, when you look closer, those choices are often engineered. For example, monopolistic giants like Amazon and Google have such power over markets that new competitors struggle to survive. The internet, once a place for free exchange, is now another battleground for capitalist giants. And even though many of us believe in the idea of a free market, capitalism continues to create barriers to entry for smaller businesses. This means it's not just about survival of the fittest, but survival of the richest. With constant innovation, these powerhouses evolve to capture even more markets. They leverage technology, patents, and acquisitions to stay ahead. And behind every successful capitalist product, there's usually a government policy or bailout pushing things forward. The invisible hand of capitalism, as Adam Smith once described it, isn't so invisible anymore, it's simply hidden in plain sight. Chapter 2. Capitalism loves to boast that it's the fuel for innovation. But is it really? The idea that capitalism rewards the brightest minds is true only if those minds can play the game. Look at companies like Apple or Tesla, which have revolutionized technology, but have they done it alone? Often, they've used the groundwork laid by public institutions and government-funded research. For instance, the GPS system we use every day was developed by the US Department of Defense, not a private company. Yet, under capitalism, this public good became privatized by tech companies that profit from it. Some would argue that capitalism isn't just a system of innovation, it's a system that controls innovation. Over 60% of patents are owned by just a few giant corporations, leaving smaller inventors with limited room to grow. Capitalism thrives on the idea of disruption, but in reality, disruption often means creating monopolies. Google and Facebook, for example, have been so successful at consolidating power that it's nearly impossible for smaller social media platforms to thrive. And these companies don't just innovate, they buy out their competition. Since 2005, Google has acquired over 200 companies, stifling true competition and making the innovation process less about creativity and more about buying ideas. Capitalism encourages us to think that the newest app or gadget will change the world, but often, it's just a new way for big corporations to control the market. Chapter 3. Freedom is one of capitalism's greatest selling points. We're told we live in a free society where we can choose anything, anytime, anywhere. But how free are we really? When you examine it closely, capitalism gives us freedom within a narrow framework. In the US, about 60% of the wealth is controlled by just 1% of the population. This creates a massive imbalance in the so-called choices available to the majority. The truth is, most of us don't have as many options as we think. When corporations like Walmart or Amazon dominate, they dictate the choices available to us. In fact, 1 in 4 Americans is employed by a company with more than 1,000 employees. These corporate giants control not just what we buy, but how we live. Take a look at food companies. 10 corporations control over 80% of the global food market. These monopolies create a false sense of freedom because they control the options we think we have. You may think you're choosing a brand based on preference, but in reality, you're often picking between just a handful of corporate-owned options. This choice becomes an illusion when you realize that your preferences are largely shaped by advertising and convenience. Even political choices are influenced by capitalism. Elections, for example, often come down to who can spend the most money, not who has the best ideas. The world might feel like a place of unlimited freedom, but capitalism ensures that the real power lies with those who control the means of production and distribution. Chapter 4. One of capitalism's most remarkable features is its ability to thrive during a crisis. While most systems collapse under pressure, capitalism often finds ways to make money from disasters. The 2008 financial crisis is a perfect example. While millions lost their homes, banks were bailed out by the government. This wasn't just a one-time event, it's a pattern. In times of economic collapse, the richest get richer. According to the Federal Reserve, the wealthiest 10% of Americans own 70% of the country's assets. Crises create opportunities for the rich to buy distressed assets at bargain prices, consolidating their wealth and power. Natural disasters also fuel this crisis capitalism. After Hurricane Katrina, for instance, corporations swooped in to buy up real estate at deeply discounted rates. Capitalism feeds off these vulnerabilities, using government bailouts, privatization, and deregulation to further its grip on the economy. Even pandemics, like COVID-19, have shown how the rich can benefit during a global crisis. In the first 12 months of the pandemic, billionaires around the world increased their wealth by $3.9 trillion. While small businesses closed, tech giants and pharmaceutical companies expanded. The crisis became an opportunity, not a setback. In capitalism, every disaster is a chance for the rich to capitalize on what others lose. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights into how the system really works. You won't want to miss the next chapter. Chapter 5. Globalization is often presented as a way for the world to become interconnected and prosperous. But for many, it's a trap. Large corporations push globalization as a way to reduce costs and improve efficiency. Yet, for many countries in the Global South, globalization has meant exploitation. In 2020, developing nations made up 85% of global exports, but received less than 30% of the profits. This inequality is driven by capitalism's insatiable need for cheap labor. Big brands like Nike and Apple rely on factories in countries with poor labor laws, where workers earn just a fraction of the profits their products generate. Globalization isn't about spreading wealth, it's about concentrating it in the hands of a few. By shifting production to the Global South, corporations can pay workers lower wages and dodge environmental regulations. Meanwhile, the wealth generated flows back to capitalist economies, leaving poorer nations dependent on these multinational corporations. The idea of a global community is a nice narrative, but the reality is that capitalist systems exploit less developed countries for profit. Globalization doesn't create equality, it deepens the divide between the haves and the have-nots. Chapter 6. In capitalism, consumerism isn't just a way of life, it's a religion. The system has convinced us that the more we buy, the better our lives will be. Ads target us from every angle, shaping our desires and telling us that happiness is just one purchase away. Research shows that the average person is exposed to between 4,000 and 10,000 ads per day. And it works. A study by Princeton University found that consumer behavior can be influenced by subtle cues like color, shape, and even sound. This is the power of capitalism's marketing machine. It doesn't just sell products, it sells lifestyles. The problem is, the lifestyle capitalism offers is one of perpetual dissatisfaction. No matter how much we buy, it's never enough. As consumerism takes hold, capitalism encourages us to measure success by what we own rather than who we are. Consumerism becomes a way to define our identity, what we wear, drive, and consume. This keep up with the Joneses mentality has created a cycle where our sense of self-worth is tied to material possessions. This isn't accidental. It's a carefully crafted system designed to keep us coming back for more. The capitalist mindset works by turning desires into needs, making us believe we can't be happy without the next new thing. But at what cost? If you found this eye-opening, subscribe to stay updated on all things capitalism and its hidden impacts.